The pessimists are worried. The optimists, not a big deal. Where do the Celtics really stand right now? I'll make the case for both on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
B-Town, be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Back to back, if I say it, it's stamped. Locked on number 19, the best one, the next one. Juice loose in your pool now for the next run. It's the C's, who else could it be? What they gon' say now? Screaming like JT, Karalis, recap the madness. Every game, every practice. Best daily pod, no cap like Brad Beckett. Clutch like Drew to KP, tap in daily. Primetime dapping D White on the sideline. Raining Jayson, how it started, raising banners, how we finish. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners.
There, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast. It's right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day, and I got you covered every Monday through Friday. You know, this week a little bit different with the holiday schedule, but I'm back here. Podcast tonight. This is the Friday podcast, but tomorrow after the Pacers game, full podcast. So we'll get your fifth full half-hour podcast post-game. Pacers coming off a back-to-back against OKC. So we'll see what happens there. But I'm here for you with at least 5 podcasts a week, plus, generally speaking, bonus podcasts after they play on weekends. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcast. Watch the show on YouTube. Get into the comment section. Tons of comments in the comment section. I love seeing the threads popping up, people posing a question, answering. It's a really good comment section, if I do say so myself. I'm John Karalis. For those of you who are new, I've been covering the Boston Celtics for about 20 years, doing it now as a beat writer for Boston Sports Journal. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are almost here, so it's not too late to get in on the regular season action. With FanDuel, right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets. If your first $5 bet wins, visit FanDuel.com to get started. Today, I'm playing both sides, okay? I've seen a lot of conversation here about the Celtics now that they've lost 2 in a row for the first time this season. So I'll start with the pessimist view. Lots of pessimism out there. I will switch to the optimist view, which I'm very comfortable with because I am, generally speaking, an optimist in life. I am somewhat optimistic about certain things, but I get no worse than realist. I'm not a pessimist at all. So, and then in the third segment, I'll kind of make a judgment. I'll pass judgment and we'll see. So let's just start here with the pessimist view, which starts out simply. The Celtics have 5 home losses already. They had 4 all of last season. What's up with that? Right? You had 4 losses in an entire season at home. That's exactly what a good team is supposed to do. You're supposed to, the formula, I've said it a million times on this podcast. You win your home games, you split your road games. That's 41 games at home. No one wins 41, but 40 or so, 37, 38, 36 wins at home. Plus you split. All you got to do is be 500 on the road. Just 1 game below 500, 20 and 21. That's a 57-win team. That's really good. So now if you're a good road team, you get up over the 60-win mark. To already have 5 losses at home, not great, right? That's not what the Celtics are supposed to be. And on top of it, you've got fans who are coming in, paying their money, and to see these efforts, I understand, just me speaking personally, I understand the resting thing and the being cautious with injuries thing. And a fan needs to understand that sometimes a player is going to have to sit at a home game. And you're not guaranteed to see Jayson Tatum every night or Jaylen Brown or Kristaps Porzingis every night, but you should be guaranteed a decent effort at home. And the Celtics have not been giving the best effort at home. So right away, right off the bat, you look at a team that was so good last year and has already surpassed last season's loss total at home. And you're like, okay, we're not even into the 2025 portion of this. What's up with that? That's not great. The 3-point shooting, The Celtics last year were one of the best three-point shooting teams percentage-wise. They haven't lost anybody of note percentage-wise. In fact, the losses that they had, O'Shea Brissett, who played a fair amount, like not the most, but played, got some minutes, and he's not a three-point shooter. Svi Mikhailuk maybe pumped up some numbers in garbage time, but not so much that it threw the entire curve off. Now they're an average shooting team. And over the course of December, it's not been really good at all. In fact, the three-point shooting in December is down to like 34%, below average. For a team that generates as many three-point shots as they do, that is something that makes a guy like Michael Hawley on NBC Sports Boston say the Boston Celtics are not a three-point shooting team. They're a team that just that shoots threes. And there's an important distinction there, right? That if you're a three-point shooting team is a team that you can count on every night. They can go out there and give you good production. A team that just shoots a lot of threes is a team that, hey, these are the shots that we want to generate. Sometimes they go in, sometimes they don't. All of this kind of is folded into the bigger what Jaylen Brown said after the game against Philly. Said we came out too casual. The too casual thing is a problem. And that goes with the effort, the home losses. And it goes with some of the shooting stuff, because if you're not running to your spots, Jaylen said this after the game, we're walking to our spots. We're not getting to our spots. We're not creating advantages. If you're not creating advantages, if you're not running to your spots and getting your spacing and fighting for your spacing, then that allows the defense to defend you better. So that casual nature goes into losing games at home because you're just not putting in that same level of effort. It goes into that poor three-point shooting because the opponent defense is going to be better. And if that three-point shooting isn't there, then the bad defense, which we've seen for long stretches and more stretches recently, the bad defense becomes more noticeable. This is something I said in the post-Sixers game podcast, where I do believe that the Celtics have they started out the season so hot from three that now that they've cooled off and come back down to earth, it hasn't covered up the defense the way it has before, specifically Peyton Pritchard. If we're being honest here, there are probably 3 or 4 games that the Celtics won that they played this exact same way, but Peyton Pritchard came in and just shot the lights out, and he bailed them out. At least 3 or 4 games, maybe one more, whatever, 3 to 5 games. Whatever it is, the Celtics easily could have had a few more losses were it not for Peyton Pritchard coming in and hitting some shots, and hitting, not just hitting shots, but hitting like 5 of 7, 7 of 9. Just an incredible, outrageous shooting percentage type of game. So the Celtics haven't been getting away with it recently because Peyton Pritchard has fallen off with his shooting. He's in a slump. We can call it regression to the mean. We can call it a slump, whatever you want to call it. The three-point shooting has gone away. It's exposing bad defense. And with the bad defense, that leads to bad habits. This is a critical time for the Celtics to build these winning habits. And they can say, we know what we need to do. But yeah, I also know what I need to do on Christmas to not gain weight. But you know what I did? I had 3 glasses of wine, some pie, some cake, some rich, heavy foods. And guess who's feeling a little bit bloated today? I know what I need to do, but I didn't do it. And the longer I don't do it, the harder it is to go have that salad, right? We all know this. The harder it is to be like, oh, you know what? I'm not going to have that beer. Like it's the more you say, you know what? I'm going to have a beer at night and just go to bed. And then all of a sudden you're like, man, I'm having a couple of beers every night. and you have to go through like your dry month. Like you build bad habits and you're like, oh my God, oh, my clothes are shrinking. What's going on with that? Like, no, buddy, John, you're just getting a little bit bigger, buddy. That's the bad habits. That's the defense. So you got to be careful with that. That's the fear. Celtics bad defense is going to become a bad habit. And if you're not careful, that's going to be a tough one to break when you need to break it. Turnovers have become an issue, and not just turnovers, but Jaylen and Jayson turnovers. Jaylen and Jayson doing some of the things we saw a couple years ago, turnovers. Getting in too deep, not having an outlet, not reading the defense, trying to do too much. Maybe the shooting is getting in their way, the bad shooting from everybody else. And like, I got to do everything. And we saw what the Sixers did. Blitz, trap, send two to the ball, cause turnovers. That's the Jaylen and Jayson of 2 seasons ago, 3 seasons ago. So bad habits, caught too deep. You can't have that again. You cannot have the Celtics and Jaylen and Jayson being too casual, too loose, trying to do too much. So that's a concern. All right. How was that for pessimism? That's the pessimistic side, okay? Channeling my inner pessimist. How about the optimistic side? Let's put a smile on our face and talk about the Celtics when I come back. Today's show is brought to you by Robinhood Gold. You don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Locked On NBA, make that your next listen. I will be hosting, after I'm done with this, got a full slate of games, 12 games in the NBA. So Locked On NBA game night, me and Jake Madison, we got you covered. Make sure you're subscribed to that. And then also the Locked On NBA podcast in the middle of the day. It's more of a debate show covering all the big topics. So you get both on the same audio feed, the same YouTube feed. Make them your second/third listen. All right. I channeled my inner pessimist before. Okay, that's the negative side. Here's the optimist side. Okay, yeah, 4 home losses all last season. Got it. But they also had 2 out of their 3 losses in the playoffs. Those were at home. Maybe the 4 home losses were a little bit of an aberration. Okay, and just because the Celtics have lost 5 at home already doesn't mean that they're going to lose all of their home games moving forward. This is a team that can easily go on a big stretch of wins at home. So that's like, I'm not that concerned about losing at home. 4 home losses all season long might have been a little bit of an outlier last year. So the bottom line is they're fine. They're fine. They win on the road, right? So the concerns about losing at home, it's because you can't win on the road. If you're worried about you're losing at home, like the Celtics, if they lose game 1 of a series, who cares? Like, honestly, does anybody care? The Celtics are 11-5 at home. They're 11-3 on the road. They have 11 wins on the road. That's as much as any team in the NBA. There are 11 home wins, by the way. Let's see who has more: Cleveland, Orlando, OKC, and Memphis. That's it. Those teams have more home wins. And that's it. So Celtics still at the top of the league when it comes to winning at home. Look at it in relation to the rest of the league. 5 home losses. Cleveland is 17-1. Congratulations. That's insane. OKC is 12-2. Houston is 11-3. So the Celtics, even with whatever coasting is going on, still really good at home. And bottom line, with the wins and losses, they're only a game and a half off of last year's pace. So win your next 2 here against the Indiana Pacers, which I know is a tough opponent. But win those 2, and all of a sudden you're back on last year's pace. And look at the Celtics, still a 60-win team projected. So calm down with all of that. Not a big deal. They're still, in relation to everything, still fine. The bad defense. How about we take into account no Porzingis for the first month plus? That hurt the Celtics. So we haven't seen them whole. And they've still been a top 10 defense in the league. So they're not great defense. Their bad defense is still one of the better defenses in the league. They've done it without their rim protector. They've done it with Drew Holiday. Like, let's give Drew Holiday a little bit of leeway. The guy is, getting a little older. He's been through a full season, the Olympics, short off season. He said that, some knee stuff earlier in the season has, maybe a result of doing, a little bit too much. He has to ease into the season. Al Horford has to ease into the season. Some of the defense that we've seen has been, we've seen them make decisions and make mistakes that, in the playoffs, those aren't going to happen. Like, we know that's going to be the case. So yeah, is it bad effort? Yeah, but it's not scheme. It's not broken. It's just, like I said in the post-Sixers podcast, they're a Bugatti, and it's just being driven kind of weirdly right now. It's being driven at the speed limit. And who wants to drive a Bugatti at the speed limit? So the bad effort, yeah, I get it. Okay, I'll give you, there's some bad effort here. What do you expect the Celtics to do? What are the Celtics going to do? Are they going to go out there and give like maximum effort in December? Can we be honest here? Do you want them to go that hard when some of the key guys here are older, over 30? Or do you want them to just kind of like relax a little bit? I'm sorry to say it this way, but let's be real here. You got to relax a little bit. They're going to try to rely on, are they going to rely on their shooting, rely on their offense a little bit? Yeah, I get it. But they have the leeway. They've won a championship. They know how to do it. You going to tell me that you don't think Drew Holiday knows how to defend? You think he's just completely fallen off all of a sudden? Like, no, he knows what he's doing. And the thing that I hang my hat on is when the Celtics have turned it up, we've seen it. So they've shown us the flashes of, whoa, that's the defense. Even in the last few minutes of the Sixers game, that's the defense. That's what we're looking for. Do I want to see it be more consistent? Yes, but it's there. They're capable of it. They just got to do it. So, and the final point I want to make here is, remember this. The Celtics started out the season extraordinarily well. We're sitting here going like, oh my God, what's wrong? There are people who are losing their minds a little bit, but they started off the season hotter than everybody except for the Cleveland Cavaliers. If the Cleveland Cavaliers weren't on an ungodly pace, the Celtics would have been the top team in the league easily, keeping pace better than the OKC Thunder. So a little bit of a lull in December. There's no way that I'm going to overreact to that. The Celtics are a 22-win team, second in the East. And if they stay second in the East, oh my God, are we really concerned if it's Celtics Cavs? Are we really concerned about Boston going into Cleveland and being able to win one game on the road. Do you not think the Celtics can go into Cleveland and win a game? So I'm not concerned about this at all. This is just typical stuff. This is a 2-game losing streak. It's the first 2-game losing streak of the season. If you're upset about this, just calm down. Weed is legal. Go take an edible. Chill out. The Celtics are just fine. They're just fine. That's my optimist view. Let's put it together. What's really a concern? What should we blow off? What should we be kind of like taking into account here? Final judgment when I come back. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. The Celtics, I'm sure, are going to be favored by a healthy amount against the Indiana Pacers, who will be on a back-to-back after facing the OKC Thunder at home on Thursday night. So a home road back-to-back, we'll see. Maybe that's a good place to spend your first $5 bet. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up the W. You can bet on players who will score the first touchdown, how many points each team will score. It can be really thrilling. You go to FanDuel.com to join today. Use the tools that they have available to you. The allows you to set your limits, set your budget, so you can only bet your disposable income. Just make sure you don't go overboard. Have some fun. It can be a lot of fun with the money that you have to spend, so don't go overboard. Visit FanDuel.com to join today. FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Make sure you're reading the new Locked On Celtics newsletter. It's free. It's here in your inbox every day during the week. So you get Celtics coverage, NBA coverage, fantasy coverage, links to Celtics content around the web. So make sure you're signed up. Go to LockedOnDaily.com. LockedOnDaily.com. Sign up. Once you get that, make sure you open it up and read it because you're going to get a lot of great content there. LockedOnDaily.com for the new Locked On Celtics newsletter. So we heard me be the pessimist. Everything is bad. You heard me be the optimist. Everything is fine. Okay, here's the final ruling. Are there concerns here? Sure, there are. I do think that there's something to the bad habit stuff. You don't want to get into too bad a habit because if you relax for too much, it's like going back to the analogy I made before. It's just a little bit harder to get up off the couch, right? And you don't want to get to a point where you try to dip into your bag and have nothing there. You don't want to be Han Solo going for the hyperdrive and going and being like, it's not my fault. You don't want that. So I do have a little bit of not a concern per se, like I'm worried, but I want to see some better habits forming in the fairly near future. The shooting, it is a little concerning. Jaylen Brown's shooting is a little bit concerning to me because it's down to 32%. And he has had a season where he shot 33.5%. So it's not out of the question that he's having a down shooting year. His 2-point percentage is the lowest it's been since his first 2 seasons in Boston. And those were, tough seasons for him. It's down to 51.5, and it was 57% last season. So I don't know what is leading to that, why his percentages are off. Is he trying to do too much? Is he trying to make up for some things? I don't know. But that is Jaylen Brown's percentages just makes me squint a little bit, purse my lips, go, okay. Now, it's early, right? 27 games, 30 games right now. So not quite halfway through the season. It's big enough for it to be a good sample size, but also small enough where it can be turned around with a decent stretch, right? A few decent weeks and no problems. So the shooting stuff, I am a little bit, looking at that. But one of the hardest things for people to understand here is with Joe Mazzulla's approach, couple of things. They're not just jacking 3-pointers. I know that's been said. This is not, I know they take 50. But just because they take 50 a game does not mean they just jack 3-pointers. They run an offensive style that leans heavily on Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown driving and kicking. Jaylen and Jayson draw a ton of attention in the paint. If they're running the offense well, they are driving, they're drawing more than one person, they're kicking, the guys are in the right spaces, and then the ball swings and chaos ensues. And generally speaking, it leads to a 3-pointer because you draw 2, you kick, somebody flies out there, you swing. If somebody isn't flying out fast enough to the corner, that's a shot. The swing is always going to be somewhat open. And if you want to drive that and kick to the opposite corner, by the time you get to there, the 3-pointer is going to be open. And generally speaking, the Celtics have players who can hit these 3-pointers. So those percentage-wise are going to be the most open shots and the best shots that they can take. So the offense is geared towards generating good 3-pointers, but if the read when they get into the lane is no one is coming up to help and it's just me and one person defending me on the drive, if I get a step, I can get by them and I can try to finish. The Celtics do have to be better about making sure that they have those clear lanes to the rim, that they are making the right play. We've seen it work well. We've seen it work poorly. So it's not just, hey, this is a 3-point shooting offense. They are designed to get the best shot possible, but very often the way they are built, the best shots are going to be 3-pointers. But the Celtics have to adhere to that plan. And they can't go hunting just shots at the rim, and they can't go hunting just shots from 3. They have to drive with a purpose. They have to make the right read, and everyone has to make the right play after that. Sometimes that'll lead to 53. Sometimes it'll be 30. But as long as they're doing all of those steps, their offense is going to be fine. But that's what those steps lead to. But the real difficult thing for people to kind of grasp is this approach will lead to losses. It will lead to a loss here and there because sometimes the shots aren't going to fall. The 3-pointer is a bit of a high variance shot. It is prone to slumps. You shoot it from 24 feet away versus 10 feet away. 10 feet away, the arc is higher. There's not as much speed. There's not as much force. When it hits the rim and it's a little bit off, it can bounce, and go in. When you're shooting from 24 feet, the arc is different. The ball hits the rim at a different speed, at a different trajectory. So when it's a little bit off, it doesn't go bounce in. It just goes bounce and out much more often. So being a little bit off from 3 does lead to missed shots. And if you're not feeling it and the shot's not falling, that's going to lead to some losses. But the plan for Joe is the Celtics are banking on it not happening 4 times in a 7-game series. So an outlier shooting night like Caleb Martin is going to happen. What the Miami Heat did against Boston was so rare. That was such a rare run that it hasn't happened since, and it barely has ever happened before. That was a weird series. That was a weird playoff run. No one really understands why they were able to do it. Mazzulla is banking on, in the future, just like last season. Are you going to have some games here or there that you lose? Yeah. Is a team going to beat the Boston Celtics 4 out of 7 times with this team doing this if they do it all right? Probably not. So, yeah. Are some of these things that are on the pessimistic side, are you concerned about that? Yeah, I'm concerned about bad habits being built, but it's not a problem right now. I just want to make sure that they don't continue those for too much longer here. I want to see some games here where like, hey, you know what? Today we've got to focus defensively. We have to just to show it to yourselves that you just go out there for 40, just go do it once. Show it to us, show it to yourselves. And I'm not, is the shooting a little bit of concern? Sure, a little bit, but not, again, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to linger. I don't think it's going to happen against the same opponent 4 times. And the last couple of points here, number one, it's only December. Again, the Celtics are 22-8. They've won 73% of their games. If you have a team that wins 73% of their games for the season, it's going to be a really good team. This team is going to finish in the top 2. Hell, let's just say maybe top 3. But I'll repeat, are you concerned about the Celtics going into any one of these cities? Do you think they can't win on the road in any of these cities? No. So it's only December. So I'm not really worried about any of this stuff. And the last thing I want to say is last season, basically everything went right. The motivation was there. New players came in with a purpose. People were bought in. There was no room for slacking. There was no room for we'll just pick it up later. They had so much to prove that everybody was so bought in and so focused that everything kind of went right. Even health-wise, they did have a bunch of different lineups, but they were so cautious with Porzingis. I think Holiday came in fresher than he did this year. Guys kind of I just feel like things went pretty well over the course of the last season. Maybe last season was a little bit of an outlier of things going well for the Celtics. And this is a little bit more in line with where they are. Are they a 60-win team? They might still win 60 games. So ultimately, I fall on the side of 75 optimistic, 25 pessimistic. There's concerns. There's something there for sure, but 75% of this is not a big deal. It's early, and maybe we should have expected a couple more bumps in the road this year than last year. But Celtics is still really good, and I have zero concerns. I still trust them to be where they need to be when they need to be there. So that's where I fall on the Boston Celtics. You tell me, do you skew more pessimistic or more optimistic? Get into the comment section there on the YouTube page. Let me know. And make sure you're subscribed. If you're still here and you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button on YouTube. Ring the bell so you get notified when I drop new videos. And I would love it if you shared the podcast and told everybody that they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.